Good? Yes, I'm in. Okay, let's pop out the chat. How do we do that? Pop out chat. There we go. Okay. So I know there's a lot of new people in the group that have that are, well, not new people, but people that are new to 3D printing and slicing. Um, and I've been seeing a lot of questions about different settings, especially for supports and such. So, oh, you know what? I have not put myself. I'm going to just start over. Way of odds. This is HK7335 coming at you this Wednesday morning for a Workshop Wednesday here on YouTube. And I'm here to help you learn how to make epic Mandalorian cosplay with ease. So let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about slicing 3D files. All right. We're going to specifically look at 3 different slicers. We're going to look at Simplify 3D, Prusa Slicer, and the new darling of the slicing world, Orca, which is an offshoot of the Bamboo Slicer, which is actually an offshoot of the Slick 3R Prusa Slicer, Super Slicer family. They're all kind of related because they all came from an original slicer called Slick 3R or Slicer, but they put a 3 in it where the last E was, so some people say Slick 3R. But that's where all these slicers came from. They're all developmental offshoots of this one slicer, which is still actually available, but I don't know how much development's getting put into it. So a lot of these companies will pick up a piece of software and develop it for their printer and make it kind of, proprietary, even though it really isn't. So that's what Bamboo did. They made their own slicer, but out of that came Orca, which, from what I've looked at, is actually a pretty nice piece of software. So anyway, yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's go ahead and get into a better scenario here. Here we have Simplify 3D. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, bringing in a model. So we're going to import a model. And I have this set up for my artillery right now. So let's bring something in. Something not too big, because we're going to do this in a couple of different places. So we're going to talk about processes and stuff. Let's see, here's an ear cap. Yeah, this has custom supports on it. So here's this little ear cap for a gunny. Right now it only has one process, okay? It's set up for my default artillery settings, which are all in here. I'm not going to get into those in detail because it's not really that necessary. But, everybody's going to have different settings depending on what their printer is. This is mine. This is what's working really well for me right now for printing on this machine. And so, yeah, that's what it is. But as you can see, it's being applied to this entire model. Now, this model has custom supports on it. So we might want to deal with these. We might want to keep them and we might want to get rid of them. Let's first operate from the standpoint that we want to keep them. First, we're going to put the model where I like to put it. I generally don't like to put models dead center of the bed because I don't think any bed is perfect because they're generally made out of aluminum, and aluminum can warp. Steel can too, but it's a lot harder because it requires higher temperatures. But aluminum is, I don't know, it's kind of bendy. So I kind of like to keep things off in the corners and generally up front. So I'll usually, if I have the grid on, which I almost always do, these are 5mm increments. So one large grid is 25 by 25 millimeters. So yeah, I keep it basically about 2 grids off from the edge side here and about 3 from the front. So that's generally where I start. And even with large models, now obviously a helmet, that's going to have to go in the center of the bed, but no part of the helmet touches the center. It's all on the perimeter on this machine. Even on my K-Max, my Cobra Max, you're going to find, that there's really nothing in the middle of the build plate. And that's optimal, I think. Just in my experience, if you put things in the middle, weird things happen. Even with automatic bed leveling, you can still get anomalies if you're trying to put something in the middle of the bed. So I try to stay away from that, and that's just been my experience. Maybe yours is different, and that's cool if it is. So I want to get different. I don't want to print these supports with the same settings that I'm printing the model. Why? Because they're going to be as dense as the model, and they're probably going to be really hard to take off, and they may even fuse with the model, and we don't want that. So I'm going to use a feature here in Simplify that allows me to, it better still be here. Oh, here it is. It's probably down here. Oh, actually, no, it's up in here. I'm getting confused with. So I go to Mesh in Simplify 3D, and I'm going to show you how you do this in Prusa and also in Orca. We're going to do the same thing here with the same model. So we're going to go down here to Separate Connected Surfaces. So, and now what that does is it has created, this is the model, and now we have the custom supports. Now in Simplify 3D, this is really, really easy. It's actually easy to do in the other slicers too. It's just, I don't feel like it's as intuitive. It could just be because I've been using Simplify for so long, but basically what I can do now is I can add another process, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and select this one, which is my custom support process, and it has very specific settings. It has 2 top layers, 1 bottom layer, and 1 perimeter, and for the infill it's at 10%. Sometimes I go 3. It just depends, but for this I decided 10% was the way to go. So now both of these things have separate settings. However, if I go to print and say OK, it's going to give me a warning that says that it appears to be printing the same region twice. No, I definitely don't want to do that, which means it's going to basically apply these settings to both parts, and we don't want that. So we have to tell each process what it's going to print. So I'm going to go down here to Select Models, and I'm going to turn off this bottom one, which is the custom support. So this is our process for the model. As you can see, we're using the full layers, top and bottom, 3 perimeters, and 20% infill. And down here, we're going to go ahead and turn off the top model because this is just the supports. And so now this process is only going to get applied to the supports. So if we go ahead and select both processes and say prepare to print, say OK. Now you can see that we have our different settings here, and you'll see it in the model itself. Okay, if you look at the supports here, this is the actual model, and it's putting in so many perimeter walls that it actually doesn't even have a chance to draw infill. But here on the supports, we're getting 1 wall, and then we're getting 10% infill. We actually probably could go lower with that infill if we wanted to on this thing, but with this small of supports, it's really not that big a deal. So now we're getting a little bit of infill here where it's a little thicker. But yeah, the supports are definitely printing at a lighter setting. So that's what we're looking for. And then we just go ahead and export this whole thing as G-code, and we're ready to go. So how do we do this on, let's see, how do we do this on Prusa Slicer? Well, let's see. Are we on, oh, we're on isometric. Now we're on a perspective view. Or no, we're on an isometric view. It looked like it was perspective initially. Oh, see, it is isometric. I want to see, I guess I cannot get a perspective view. Let me look. Yeah, it's only giving me either isometric or, these orthographic views. There probably is a way to do this. I haven't been in Prusa Slicer in a while. So I'm going to go ahead and import a model. And we're going to bring in the same model that we just brought in. So just give me a second to navigate to it. All right, here we go. Okay, I think this is it. No, those are the bases. Okay. I need the ear. Ear cap. Oh no, that's the, okay. Where did I grab this from? Let's get out of here and go into, nope. Alright, I don't know why this is taking so long to find, but I just want the same thing that I brought in just a minute ago. Ears. Here we go. Ear cap QC. And does this not have the custom supports? It doesn't look like it does. Alright. So it must be in here. Lens production STL. Nope. That's not it. Where did I get this from? Hang on a second. My files are deep. Did I close Simplify? No, I did not. Okay. Let's import models. And maybe it'll take me to the same folder. Oh, here we go. All right, I'm just going to copy this. And then I'm going to paste into here. And that takes me to the same thing. Ear cap. Here we go. All right, so it's bringing in the same ear cap again. Sorry about that delay. And are we actually on right now? Because I haven't seen anybody in the chat. I'll have to edit that out. All right. So yeah, again, we are on the KMax preset. So we're going to switch this over to the artillery preset, which should be in here somewhere. KMax. Why do I not have an artillery preset in here? Okay. Oh, because it's on Anycubic Cover Max. Here we go. I'll go to this one here. Actually, no, I have one right here. This one, Artillery X2. Okay. So this is the front of the bed. We're going to go ahead and move this model over to here. I do not like the manipulators in Prusa Slicer that much, but I like it when they put the little square in here and you can move 2 axes at a time. We're going to go ahead and rotate this. And where's my rotation manipulator? Oh, here it is. It's over here. All right. And we're just going to go. See, that's crazy. Why is it giving me that number? It should just be 90. So if I want to go down here to the relative rotate mode, where are the... So it doesn't actually input the rotational value that I just did. So that's weird. Okay, so that's something that's kind of not cool about this, because it should be, if I go to local coordinates, object coordinates, and it still doesn't show me a value for the rotation that I just put in. Now this is something that I've been noticing, is like rotational values seem to be being ignored lately in slicers, and I'm not sure. They're not getting loaded into these settings. I'm not even seeing movement values. So if I move this, it's not even registering. So this must be a bug, because it used to. But anyway, we don't need that for this. We're going to go ahead and show how to do the custom supports here. And we're actually going to get rid of these, and we're going to put in other supports. So we would do this by going to split to parts. If you split to objects in this program, it will relocate the position of each part onto the build plate. So you will lose your spacing between the custom supports. Now, if you're getting rid of the custom supports, that's obviously not going to be a problem. But how do we set up different settings or processes in Prusa Slicer? Well, okay. If you notice, when you just click on this model here, it selects this one here on the top. So to get to the individual parts, you just select one of the individual parts. So we're going to change the settings on this, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some settings. So we're going to change the infill first. I don't want want to see all of those. I just want to see the density. Fill density. Okay. All right, so I'm going to set this up down here. We're going to change it from 15% down to 3%. And it could be 10 also. It doesn't, but I'm going to try 3 this time and just see what that looks. And then we want to also do layers and perimeters. And we're going to see, we want to see perimeters. We want to see top solid layers. And we want to see, do we have bottom solid layers? Yes. So we want to see these 3 parameters. And so now we're going to go ahead. You can see down here we've got this little box populated with our requested settings. So we want to change bottom solid layers to 1, top solid layers to 2, and our perimeters to 1. So this is basically exactly what we had in Simplify 3D. So now, if we go ahead and slice this, yeah, let's go ahead and slice it. Is it just a preview or is it slicing it? Oh, it is slicing it. Okay. Detected print stability issues. Okay, so it's thinking it needs supports. It doesn't. I've printed this thing a billion times and it does not need supports. There's plenty of supports here, but slicers tend to go way overboard on supports most of the time. So you can just ignore this. We'll just go ahead and get rid of this. But now we can kind of see what's happening here. So we'll bring this down so we can see what the, okay, you can see by going down to 3% infill, now we're mostly just seeing the perimeters. There's definitely infill in there. And this might actually, for a part this small, this might be a much more optimal setting. So, because these things are definitely going to hold it up. This part does not weigh very much. It's very small. Fits in the palm of your hand. And yeah, you don't have to go crazy with the settings. But that's how you do that. But let's say you don't want the supports. Let's say you want to get rid of these. Okay, so let's just select them and delete them. So how would you print this? Okay. Well, let's look at that. Let's say you bring it in and you think, okay, well, it kind of makes the most if I print it like this, or with the, let's get the, let's say we want this layer here to be touching the bed. Okay, now it looks like we need to adjust that a little bit. Oh, because see, now the problem with doing it this way is that we have this lip here. So you're immediately going to be like reevaluating your thought process here. So you might say, okay, let's look at this from, you know, the side, and maybe, yeah, we can't even really get this down. So we're going to have to put supports all along this edge, all along this edge. Now we could space them out because of bridging. If you don't know what bridging is your printer's ability to cross an open space without drooping. It's usually not that big. 50 millimeters is generally the max. And you really got to have good settings to get that kind of range. I would try to keep your distances under 10 millimeters apart from your supports. So, yeah, so again, we'd need supports all along these edges here. We'd need supports here. We'd need supports up in here. We probably wouldn't need supports on these walls because they're curving at a pretty steep angle. So they're probably going to print okay without supports. And this wouldn't be a terrible way to go, but there's some things to consider. One of them is, well, let's go ahead and put some supports in. Let's do some supports. If we don't do anything, Prusa Slicer will auto-generate supports. So we have to go into the settings here. Right now it says none. So if we say, if we just say everywhere and we say, okay, go ahead and slice this, it's going to fill this whole thing up with supports. It's going to be ridiculous. See? Look at that. This is what I'm talking about. Slicers just are ridiculous. None of this needs to be supported here, but it's just filled the whole thing up. And that's going to take you, you know, a long time to print. Let's see, what is it projected? 3 hours almost, 2.5 hours. That's not terrible, but have fun getting those supports out of there. So, yeah, we're not going to do that. So we're going to turn on supports. And what we're going to do instead of using the auto method, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do Prusa Slicer's paint on support tool. So basically you just click on that. It gives you a little circle, a little paintbrush, and you can control how big it is. Right now it's at 2. We're going to bring it down just a little bit. Why isn't it not getting smaller? We don't want a sphere, we just want a circle. It made it bigger, didn't it? Yep, it did. Okay. So now it's smaller. That's too small. I'm just going to go ahead and set this to 1.5. It's not letting me just input a value, which is really annoying. Oh, edit. Okay, here we go. 1.5. And hopefully that's in millimeters. Yeah, that looks good. So we're going to just go ahead. We're holding down our left mouse button and we're just dragging. And so basically everywhere that it's blue, there's going to be a support. Okay. So we'll go ahead and support all this. We're going to support this. We are going to need to support this, but we're just going to put some dots because I don't think the entire thing needs to be supported. Again, with this, we're going to just do this. So this would be kind of where a support pillar will get drawn. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing in here. But this time we're going to just paint some lines. And we'll put support here and here. And yeah, I mean, ideally you want as few supports as possible. Definitely try to take advantage of bridging. And like I said, bridging is your printer's ability to print or extrude filament across an open space without drooping, without support, okay? And most printers can do it. It's just, it's all settings dependent. So how fast your printer's moving, what the temperature is, what your fan speed is. Now look at this. If you push down, make a mark, and then you hold down Shift and go out here, does that not work? Oh, I guess that doesn't work anymore. Maybe it's not Shift, maybe it's Control. Let's, all right, at any rate, the details about how to use this function can be learned. I'm giving you an overview here. So I want to remove some of this because I think if you hold down the Shift key, that gets rid of it. Yeah, okay, so the Shift key acts like an eraser because we don't need supports on these areas here. So I'm going to just erase all this because I don't want that. Just want to make sure I'm not erasing where I do need them. So you got to be careful with the eraser because it can kind of mess things up a little bit. Oh, did not want that. You can just hit undo if you do something that you don't want. It does work. Yeah, we don't want any supports in here. So all right, we're almost there. This is quite a bit faster than drawing supports in, I think. Maybe, well, I guess it just depends on the model. All right, so let's see what we got. Let's go ahead and hit slice. I don't know if this thing is considered a support enforcer. So I think it is. So I'm going to hit slice and see what we get. Okay, we're getting supports like, yeah. It still puts in too many, but that's definitely better than it was. You know, I could work with that. It did take off almost a half an hour of print time, so that's cool. But that's basically how you do it. Unfortunately, with supports, you don't have a huge amount of control over them. But what this program and Cura and OrcaSlicer have that Simplify 3D does not have yet, which is really annoying since it's a paid software, is something called interface layers. So if we go into the settings, we're going to go into print settings over here. Here we go. This should have setting aside for support material. So this is where you, see, it's highlighted in orange, so we're actually on that panel. So if we go back here, then we can tell, what our support settings are. So this gives you your Z distances. That's actually a little too high. I generally like to double that number. So we would go 0.3, not 0.13, 0.3. I always go like a layer and a half because it tends to fuse if you go lower than that. Bottom contact Z distance should be, yeah, that's if it's actually touching the model. If it's on the build plate, then obviously you want it. They'll just leave it at same as top. Pattern is rectilinear. There's lots of different patterns for supports. And now they've got these tree supports. Okay, no, I was thinking of infill. What? Oh, no, I don't want this. Okay, so if you click on something in Prusa Slicer, it takes you to their website where you can find out what that means. I'm going to change. Oh, this is letting me know that I changed the value from the default. So I'll have to resave the the profile in order to get that change embedded or create a new profile. So let's see what we got here. I want to see what the density is. XY separation between an object and its support, 50%. Yeah. I think that's probably good. So organic supports is probably tree supports. Yeah, this is tree supports. We're not going to get into those right now. I haven't really played around with them. They've actually been around for a long time. Cura had them as an experimental feature back in, 2019, 2018. And I tried them out. I didn't really like them. They were okay, but I think it actually took, to me, it seemed like it took longer to print with them than it did to just use regular supports. So the idea with tree supports is that it's supposed to use less material because it starts off with a trunk, and you can keep that trunk very narrow until you get to the places where you actually need the supports, and then it branches out and makes contacts with all the supported areas. So it's kind of a shortcut or a way of using less material as you're getting to the place that has to be supported. But it's a preferential thing. I may start using them at some point. I just haven't really used them very much, so I don't have a lot to say about them. I'm not saying they're bad, and I'm not saying they're good either. I just really don't know. So what I'm looking for right now is support density, because that's really important. If your support is too dense, you will make it basically the same as your model. So it will be very hard to remove. It'll use a lot more material. And I'm not seeing a density setting here. Generate support material. Okay. I'm wondering if that's going to be in a different place. Yeah, there's tons of settings for supports, so you can definitely spend a good amount of time. Let's go into printer settings and see if it's in there. I doubt it. Let's try filament settings. Filament, cooling, advanced, filament over. Okay, so it does not seem to be a feature. It doesn't seem to be a feature of Prusa Slicer's support settings, which I'm kind of baffled by. It's like it's deciding what the density should be. They may call it something else here. I don't know. But they seemed pretty dense to me, if you ask me. First layer density, 90%. That's too much. Yeah. So are we in advanced? We're an expert, so that setting should be available. And it's not. So there's 3 different settings here in Prusa Slicer, by the way. And also Orca Slicer has the same thing. So you have a simple, an advanced, and an expert. And these things, you can see the ones that are colored yellow are for advanced. Anything that's red is an expert level. And anything else is going to be just a very basic setting that's in the simple version. And for most people, that might be exactly what they need. If you really want to get in and fool around with stuff, then... Okay, let's see. Why? All right. I don't know why that's not there. There should be a density setting, because otherwise it's just going to give you a... Whoa, what happened? Where'd my model go? Why is my model not showing? Okay, here we go. All right, so something else to be aware of with painting supports is that sometimes you'll lose all your painting. Like if something goes goofy with your model, or you make some change to it, like splitting into parts or something, or even if you crash, you'll come back and find that your painting is still there, except it's all over the model and just completely random, and it looks horrible. So yeah, we're going to say okay to this. We're done here, and let's see what that looks like. All right, so yeah, we're getting basically the same thing. This is totally workable, by the way. Okay, so let's look at the issues we have here. Okay, we're thinking in terms of post-processing now. From a strength factor, we have an issue there because all of our lines are going horizontal. So if this part flexes left or right, which it sometimes can do when you're putting it onto the helmet, that's a potential snap. Now that's not a super big issue because if your settings are good, then this stuff should be pretty strong. This is kind of more of where it might be an issue because you've got a long piece here that's relatively thin, and again, it has, you know, the layers running horizontal when you would get a lot more strength. This is actually where the ear cap mates with the inner ear. So you want this to be strong. So maybe this isn't the best approach. Additionally, you've got this surface here, which because it's not perfectly flat, you can't employ ironing, and you're not going to get a clean, smooth surface. You're going to see all these weird lines and stuff in here, and this stair stepping on here. So let's try a different orientation, see what we get. Let's go back. All right, maybe this isn't the best orientation. So let's go ahead and clear our supports. Okay, and then we're going to go and we're going to rotate this. We're going to put it back in the orientation that I had it in so we can see what's up with that. Okay, so something else important to note too about Prusa Slicer is Prusa Slicer does not let you put things into the bed. If you try to move something into the bed, it's not going to stay there. At least I don't think it will. If I go to rotate, yeah, maybe, well, okay, they might have fixed that. This is a great way to do test prints, by the way. If you just want to test how a certain part of your model is working in terms of supports without having to print the whole thing, you can either tell your slicer to, like if you wanted to figure out how it was working from like say here to here, then just tell your slicer to stop the print at this height. And there's a way to do that in every slicer where you can tell it, yeah, I only want you to print to here. And then it will just do a partial print. But if you wanted to, let's say you wanted to get this top area here, you know, and see how that's working, then just pull it down into the bed and slice it as normal. Let's see if we can actually do it, because before Prusa Slicer wouldn't let you do this. It would just punch it back up. So let's see if that works. It looks like it's going to work. Okay, cool, it did. All right, so this is a way to do a partial print where you can, you know, test out areas that you might have had issues with or that you're not sure about. Really great way of testing. You don't have to cut the model or anything like that, but we are going to get into that as well. So let's talk about supports for this. I like this orientation because it does have some problem areas, but they're fewer in my opinion, and the overall quality of the part after it's done printing is much higher. So your lines are going to be running like this. Let's go ahead and turn off supports just for now and go ahead and slice it so we can get a better picture of what we're looking at. Okay, so we have all our lines going horizontal. But if you notice, this surface here and all these surfaces here are very uniform. They're going to be much, much easier to post-process. You may not even need to sand. You might be able to just get away with some filler primer and, you know, these as well, okay? Now, the lines aren't moving perfectly in line with this, but you're getting a lot more connection and you're getting it at an angle for this structural part, okay? Wow, that's an old ear cap because it's got this thing on it. Anyway, so let's go ahead and do some supports for this. So where are we going to put supports? Well, where do we need them? First of all, we don't want this thing to tip over. So we're probably going to need some supports along this edge just to help it stabilize and hold up. This is an overhang, so we're going to definitely need supports right along in here. And then we have this floating out in space. We're going to need that. And we're going to probably need supports at least part of the way up onto here, just to, again, help stabilize the models. Because this is a steep enough angle that this actually does not need to be supported. This here is a short enough distance that it should bridge without any problem. So no supports will be required there. We also have space here. So let's go ahead and get some supports going on here and see how it works out. Okay, so, oh, actually, you know what? First thing we need to do is move this up just a little bit because we are making contact with the bed. So I'm going to bring this up. Come on. Bring this up just a little bit. Okay, I don't want you touching the bed, bro. Can you just stay put? You're kind of... See, this is an issue with Proof Slicer. I want to put a support under here, and it wants to make that contact with the bed. I don't like that. That's not where I want this to go. So I'm going to have to just deal with that, or I'm going to have to decide and go with an orientation that I don't like. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other with this. So we're going to go ahead and just paint these in, and we're not going to go crazy with it. This is probably going to... See, I don't know how much you actually have to paint here. It seems like, you know, I got way more supports than what I put down in paint on the last thing. So I'm going to just do that. I don't think we need supports up in there, but I do want supports right here. I do want supports right here. And I want some supports right here. Probably going to have to do some erasing. Yeah, I don't think we need these all the way up, but we do need them in here. So we will need supports right here. All right, that should be good. We're probably going to have to erase a few spots. So let's just do that. We're going to hold down Shift, and we can just kind of go back over where we've been and get rid of these excess areas here. Yeah, we don't need all that. Probably got that over here too. No? Okay. All right, so just one little thing right there. Nothing too bad. All right. Okay, let's see what we got. Let's see how that looks. Go ahead and slice. Oh, you typically use tree support mostly. Hi, Jedi Rogard. Welcome in. Glad you made it. Yeah, I haven't played around with tree supports since they first came out as an experimental feature in Cura back in 2019. Now all of a sudden they're available again. I'm not really sure. Oh, I think I have supports turned off. I do. Let's go for support enforcers only. And let's do this. One thing you might have noticed is that it does take a little more time to set your model up. Well, that's mostly because we're doing slicer supports instead of custom supports. When I created custom supports for my models, the main idea was to make it so you could get to printing faster. The other reason is because until interface layers came out, supports typically did a number on your model. In fact, I want to look and see. These should all work really well and come off pretty decent. And yeah, this looks like it'll print just fine. So this is an idea of orientation, you know, finding an optimal orientation. And again, you can always practice by just, you know, printing sections of the print. You don't have to print the entire print to determine if your, you know, if your concept of how to print it is going to be viable. You know, it's always an experiment. Every printer's different. Even, you know, my artilleries are not exactly the same as somebody else's artilleries because they're in my house. And so it's a different environment and different factors are at play that could affect the print. Even though the machines are essentially identical, there's all these environmental factors to consider. So moving your print around and just partially printing certain areas where you think you might have a question is always a good way to test out your slice and see how it's working. And then you can make some adjustments and changes without having to go through, and print after print after print of the whole thing and have them fail. So yeah, so there's Prusa Slicer. Now let's look at Orca Slicer, which is sort of I guess it's kind of like the big brother of, it's a more advanced version, I think, of Prusa Slicer. I really like the way they have this laid out. So this is Orca Slicer here. When you first go in, you're gonna want to set up a printer. This is for if you're, doing stuff through a cloud system, where you can get models, you can get, store your objects, and talk to your printer. I don't generally do that. I'm just really not set up for that here. So I'm going to go back to what I have right now. Again, this is my, this is just the stock settings for the artillery. I have not actually sliced anything and printed it yet with this. I've just been kind of learning about this slicer, but from what I see, I really like it. So initially, let's go ahead and bring something in. We're going to bring something in a little more complicated. I want to import a model. And we'll bring this in. And we're going to just do this real quick. Okay, so right now I'm getting an error saying that the model is coming off the build plate. Well, yes, it is, because I've got it tilted back. And here's another example of orientation. Why did I tilt it like this? Well, this eye line was always kind of an issue. By tilting it back, it's now printing like this, and there's less chance of it drooping and having problems. The only issue is that I get, all the top stuff right here, but half of this model gets covered up by the mohawk, or the center crest, as some people call it. And so you're not even going to see this. So it's just going to be a little area right in here of stair stepping that you're going to want to deal with. The other thing you might notice is that I don't put any supports in the middle. And that's because bridging, okay? Bridging will print. There will be some droop in here, okay? I'm not going to lie. There will be some droop. Very easy to clean up. I use a chisel, and I just go in and scrape out the droop. And at that point, you have any number of options of how to deal with what remains. The helmet will still be thick enough to, be solid on top. It's not going to be a bird's nest, unless your printer settings are just completely off. At that point, too, your entire print will probably look terrible. So, yeah, generally, if you've got your settings good, and you got good bridging settings, this is not going to be an issue here. There will be a little drooping, but it's on the inside. The outside should print nice, and it's not really going to be an issue. So first, let's fix this warning. So how do we do that? We have our model selected. We're going to go ahead and rotate this thing 45 degrees on Z. What I really like about this, too, is like as soon as I click on this, it brings up this really nice little input box, instead of having everything over here. So it goes away. We also have it set for world coordinates right now. I'm not sure if there's a way to change that to local, but honestly, I really don't need them to be local. That's, at this point, I don't need that. So this is the front of the bed here. So we've got the model facing to the right, which is fine, not a problem. There's some other things that I would want to do with this, like, making sure the seam goes where it needs to go, which would be on the inside. We do have a seam painting utility in here. Let's see, where is it? Seam painting right here. Okay, so we can just go ahead and paint a seam, maybe right here, so it goes to the one side or the other of this rear vent opening. And yeah, we can do that. We're not really going to need any additional supports on this model. I mean, there's a couple of places where you could put them. We could potentially put some supports back in here, because this could be problematic. So maybe some supports right there might be useful. And again, with this slicer, you have to tell it where you want the supports to go. Otherwise, it will just put them everywhere. And that's called a support enforcer. So there's two approaches with supports in these programs. support enforcers and support blockers. So support blocker is saying, yeah, I want you to put supports everywhere except right here. So rather than just going in and painting the whole model and then erasing a little spot, you're going to just put a blocker in there and say, yeah, don't put any supports there, but I want them everywhere else. So I like the support enforcer, which is saying I only want supports here, okay, where I'm indicating. So that's what the painting tool comes in. Otherwise, you've got to use some other methods, I think, to enforce supports. I'm going to turn off this rotation here because I'm afraid I might accidentally rotate the model. Okay, so you can see this model has custom supports on it. How do we deal with that in Orca? Well, we do pretty much the same thing. We select the model, which it is, and we go slice to parts. And the way we set the processes up is basically the same. So this is the helmet right here. Okay, so at this point we can move it independent of the supports. We don't want to do that, so I'm going to hit undo. And we want the stock settings on here, but these we want to modify. So let's see if we can. Yes, okay, so in Orca they've got a thing called a parameter table. So we can go in and change some aspects of this. So right now it says it's got 4 wall loops. We're going to change this to, oh, that's cool. So we're going to change this to 1. We're going to change this to 2, the top solid layers. And we're going to leave all the other settings the same. We just basically are focusing on infill. And here's infill overlap. Not sure about that. I'll have to look at that. We want bottom solid layers to be 1. Okay, and oh, here's our infill density is going to be, we're going to take that down to 3. Okay, so now I'm going to see if we can copy these settings. I wonder if there's a way to do that. Okay, it doesn't seem to give me. I wish that I could just take those settings. Okay, so I guess I have to do this for all of these. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll change that to 1, 2, and 1. And we want this to be 3. Okay, and I wish there was a way to copy this. It would sure be nice. Maybe in a future release. So there we go. 3. No, not 3. 1, 2, 1, and 3. Okay, so yeah, we're just applying the same settings. Now, it's possible that you could combine these 3 custom supports into one object, but I'm kind of new to this program still too, so I'm not sure. Okay, I think we're good. So we just changed that one, right? Did we change this one? No. Wait, what happened? How come this didn't change? 2. Nope. 1. It's not changing for some reason. Why isn't it letting me change this? It's putting it back. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 3. Okay, cool. So let's do it. It's not changing it. Why aren't you changing, bro? Okay, it's not letting me change. Oh, you know what? Maybe I locked something here. Let's unlock this. Let's unlock that. Oh, is it putting it back now to 4? It is. Oh, man. Okay. So I'm not sure what's happening here. This is definitely counterintuitive. And I wish there was a way to just copy this, but there is not that I can see. Okay, maybe that's what the problem is. Maybe I need to lock these. So I need to do 1. Okay, see there, now it's locking it. Let's do 2. Let's do 1 and 3. Okay, so why doesn't it change? Huh. I don't know. Very strange. Very strange. Yes. Okay, so yeah, but this is how you would do separate processes for different parts of your model in Orca. All right, so we're going to do something different now. Now we're going to talk about what happens if you got a small printer, okay, and you can't fit a full-size piece of armor. So let's go into this is where Prusa Slicer and Orca Slicer are going to shine. Let's see, is this a slice? Where's the cut? Okay, here it is. All right, so let's get rid of all this. Let's just delete this. And we're going to bring in one of these one-piece chest plates that I just made. And we're going to set, you know what, I'm going to do this in Prusa. It's going to be very similar in Orca, so we're going to just go in Prusa right now because I can change this out to a different, I'm going to put it on my Ender 3 because I still had my Ender 3 when I started using Prusa. So we're going to do that. Yeah, let's just say, no, wait, I want to go, yeah, let's just change it to Ender 3 Standard. Say save. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, so now we're in Ender 3 size, and we're going to bring in a big model. So I'm going to go into armor. Where is it? It should be in here. Why is it not in here? Oh, maybe it's in, okay, I think it's in a different spot. Here we go. All right. All right, so we're going to bring in this Sentinel chest plate. And you're going to see this is the small one, and it's way too big for the Ender. So how do we deal with that? Well, we can cut it. How cool is that? We can cut this into pieces. So there's a couple of different approaches you could take to this. If you didn't want to split this up here, you could cut here, and then you could cut here, or you could cut right here. No, you'd have to cut here and here. So let's see how that would work. Let's go ahead and select the model, and we're going to go to cut. All right. So first, you know what? Because we want to split along here, cut only works in horizontal. At least I think it does. Let's see. Mode planar. Oh, and then we've got a dovetail, which is kind of cool because it adds a little connecty dude in here, that's kind of cool. Okay, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. Maybe we want to start here. This is kind of nice. I kind of like this. But you only have so much height. So let's split this thing first this way. Let's rotate this 90 degrees. Okay. And just to make sure that we're actually 90. I'm going to do this way because it's not showing me the rotation. No, that isn't right. And now look, I just hit undo and it's still in the same place. Okay, that's bizarre. Okay, so let's try 90 on Y. That's more like it. Okay, so now we know we can cut. We're just going to cut right in the middle just to simplify this. So, and you can see it's already there. We don't want the dovetail, so we're going to just do a straight planar cut. And you can tell it, you can move this cut position around. Okay, so there's a manipulator on here. So you can actually rotate this cut if you wanted to. I guess we we probably didn't have to change the orientation of the model. Now that I think about it, this, since you can rotate this, we could have rotated it 90 degrees from our original position. So this is fine, but this is okay. It'll still work. And then right now we want to cut right in the middle. So we're going to just go ahead and say perform cut. And oh yeah, it's kept both the objects and it's repositioned them both onto the bed. Now, you could, if you're not increasing the size at all, you could, you're going to want to flip this and have this very flat surface here on the build plate. So we're going to select this, which is the place on face. We're going to flip this over, and you can see this one's already there. This one's already sitting on the cut, which is exactly what we want. You could rotate this now and actually get it to fit on the Ender 3 bed. Okay, so I think this will fit just fine. Looks like it. Looks like it will. Let's look at it from the top view. Looks like we need to adjust it just a little bit. We just want to make sure it's going to clear. I don't like the way when you grab these manipulators in Prusa Slicer how everything jumps. Everything kind of just jumps. Okay, see, and now I just selected that. I don't want that. I want you to just move my part where I want it. Okay, that looks pretty good there. Let's go to top view. I wonder if we could print both of these pieces now. Looks like we can move this more. This, see, I don't like that jump. Stop jumping like that, bro. Don't do that. Okay, I guess if you grab the box, it doesn't jump. Man, that's annoying. All right. Okay, so this is saying something. It's making it orange for a reason. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be. I'm not seeing any warnings, so maybe it's okay. So we're going to do this. We may not be able to get both of these parts on here at one time, but we're going to try. We're going to use the maximum amount of space that we have available to do this. I'm going to move this one down here. And that's looking pretty good. Okay, so now you're probably going to need some supports, though not that many. This will probably print okay, but if you want some stability, then you may want to put some supports in there. But overall, this will probably stay put. I would probably put supports like maybe right here. And you might want to consider printing this thing with a raft or a brim, something that basically locks it to the build plate. If you just use a skirt, which is optional, you don't have to use a skirt. You know, it doesn't make contact with the model unless you tell it to. And in that case, then it becomes a brim. So, yeah, because all you've got making contact right now is this. So you're going to want to make sure you're not getting a lot of XY jerk because it could break this thing off. But if you want to make it more stable, then I would run supports along this edge here and this edge here, and probably along maybe the top part of this edge, maybe from like here to here. Let's go ahead and paint some supports on and see what we get. All right. Okay, so yeah, we're going to paint from here. And then we're going to go from here to here. Just to there. I don't think it needs to be more than that, because this side, we're going to take all of this here, and we're going to just go up this whole thing. All right. So now there's that. Now what we could do, I think, is let's just go ahead and see what we get. We're going to go ahead and slice this. Hopefully it doesn't crash. An object is outside the print area. Oh, what? Where? What's outside the print area? Now see, this is a case where, okay, so Prusa is telling me that this thing needs to be moved in a little bit. I don't know why. It's probably this dude right here. I'm going to move this back. Yeah, it is. It's probably this dude. So let's see. Who's got the supports? You do, probably. Yep. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this dude. All right. So I'm going to take this, and we're going to move it so it's more in the center of the plate. But this is what you have to do if you have a small printer and you want to print big things. You got to cut them up. That's just how it is. And then you got to glue them back together again, which, is not really a big deal. It's just, it's going to be a little more work to post-process it. All right, we should be okay now, I think. Yeah, I'm not getting any error messages. So let's see what those supports look like. Why do I not have supports? Are we going to get supports? I'm not seeing supports. Did I get rid of the wrong one? I might have. Oh, I know what happened. No. Okay, so it's not letting me put supports in for some reason. Support on build plate only. Let's try that. Let's do that and see what happens. Why am I not seeing supports? Oh, it's still drawing, but I should still see supports. Ah, there we go. Okay, see, yeah, overkill. Total overkill. Do not need supports there. That's overkill. Okay, so this is why you don't want to let your slicer make supports for you. So we're going to go for 4 support enforcers only, which is what we've done here. That's what the blue is. So there should only be supports here and here. And hopefully we will get it this time. Yeah, let's go ahead and slice. And hopefully we will get supports this time. Why is it not putting supports on? That's weird. That is really weird. It's not looking at my painted supports. I don't know why. I don't know why. It should. Maybe I have to do this. I don't know. Maybe I got to do this. Let's just put some random dots in here and see if it actually puts in a support. Maybe I got to put a support here. I don't know. It's so random. Maybe I need one here. No, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't want to put them where it says that they should go because it's wrong. I'm telling you, it's wrong. I know exactly. I printed these. I already just printed the unifier, and all I needed was supports, and I printed it in one piece. So I put my supports along the bottom edge, and that was it. That was it. I didn't put any way up here and running all up and down the thing. It was, yeah, it would have taken days to print this. This is why some people are, they print this stuff and it takes like 3 or 4 days. It's because they're printing all these supports that they don't need. So let's go ahead and let's try to slice this now and see if we get some supports. I'm still not seeing supports. Where are they? Why isn't it making supports? Is there something wrong with this? Oh, for some reason, these are not showing up. Let's go circle. And let's do this again. Let's remove all of these. Oh, I was painting a seam. Okay. So yeah, that's what happened there. So I didn't actually paint supports. I painted a seam. So let's go ahead and paint some supports now. Now it's going to work. Okay. Oopsie. I know what I did wrong. Okay, I'm glad I troubleshooted it. Sorry, Prusa Slicer, for, thinking it was you. It was actually me. All right, I'm going to clear this out because we don't want that. Don't want that, no. All right. How does that side look? That looks pretty good. We got some goop here that we don't need. And obviously, you're going to want to go in and adjust your support settings on the printer, under print settings is where you would do that in here. So let's go ahead and run this. See what we got. We better have supports now, bro. Yes, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you want. Okay. Now see, we've added stability Okay, so now we've got contact. It's kind of gluing these. The supports are kind of you know, adding some reinforcement to the print to not only support these areas that are technically overhangs, but also to help lock the model to the bed. All right. We could do a brim here. You know, it's kind of like your call. I think with this support structure, you wouldn't necessarily need it. So you're going to get a very, you know, clean bottom surface here. There might be a little bit of elephant footing because generally first layers tend to print a little bit wider. So you may have to go in with a file and just kind of clean that up. But that's how I would do this. So we took a standard size plate and we got it to fit on an under 3. Now, this is the standard size. If we wanted to increase the size to, say, a large or an extra large, we would probably have to cut it again here or here to shorten it. And then we could probably get 2 pieces on at the same time, but they're going to be bigger. So, and you're going to end up with a 4-piece chest plate instead of a 2-piece. So, you know, there's limitations, but this is how you approach it. We have the same functionality in Orca Slicer. If we bring this up, if I bring in a model again, let's import another model here, not this one. Let's go ahead and grab the chest plate again. I'm going to go here to here. All right, yeah, let's bring the same thing in. Let's bring the other one in. The curvier one. All right, I'm not going to switch out to a smaller build plate because it's not necessary. What I want to just show is the functionality. So to do that, your situation is up here. Here's our cut plane. We can rotate it. So if we wanted to cut alongside, you know, let's say 90 degrees, like right there, then we could do that. It's not showing me rotation. I guess maybe I want to do that manually. So let's set the rotation on Y to 90. Yeah, there we go. And then we say perform cut. We want to keep both the pieces. Yeah, if you only wanted to keep one part, you could. Now, if you're going to add supports to this, which you would, you might want to only keep one part. So let's just say we want to just keep one part. Let's go ahead and perform the cut. And now we just got this. Okay, so what's cool here, check this out. We know this was split right down the middle, right? So the left side should be a mirror of the right side, if the right side was still there. So if we wanted to go ahead and, you know, we do our supports kind of the same way we did them in Prusa Slicer. But now let's move this over and let's rotate this thing so that it is running along the y-axis. Now it's telling me that I'm outside of the bed. Not a problem. We just move it back in. And we're going to move this over. Now let's assume we've already got our supports painted on. In fact, let's test this. I want to make sure this actually works. Support painting. Okay, so this is exactly the same as in Prusa Slicer, or it should be. We're going to put supports right here. Ooh, I actually like this better. Starts off with a smaller circle. That's cool. Yeah, and it seems to know where you want to go. That's nice. Okay, so let's do some over here. And yeah, it's showing me in red where I need them. So we'll do some here, go to about right there. And we'll go ahead and we'll just throw a few supports in here too, just for fun, because it says I need them there. I probably don't, but let's go ahead and say okay. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. What I'm hoping is going to happen is that I'm going to duplicate this part and I'm going to mirror it. I'm hoping that it's going to you know, keep the supports. So I'm going to go ahead and clone this part. Okay, I want one clone. Okay, and I don't know why it put it in a strange place, but whatever, it's okay. Let's move this back. We're going to move it over to the side here. And now what we want to do is, first I want to see if the support painting is still there. It is. Okay, so now we're going to take this and we're going to mirror it. Let's see if we have a mirror function here. We've got this one selected. We're going to go ahead and go mirror along y-axis. Is it y-axis or is it going to be the x-axis? No, it's going to be the x-axis. Okay. So we're going to mirror. Where is it? Here, along x-axis. There we go. Oh, why did you flip it over, bro? That's not what we want. Let's try that again, because maybe it is y. I don't want it to flip it upside down. It shouldn't do that. Okay. All right, this is a little better. I'm going to rotate it so it's like going the correct orientation, because it's kind of janky. All right, let's see if we have our supports painted. Oh, we do. Excellent. Haha. Cool. So that's how you can do the left and right sides a little faster. So now it's still sticking out a little too far. So let's bring it back in, and let's just go ahead and slice it and see what it looks like. Have I even sliced anything? Let's go ahead and slice it. I think that's what you hit. Oh, I didn't tell it to do support enforcers only. So we'll have to see. Caleb Williams. Awesome. Glad you could make it. You don't have much direct experience. Well, I wish you'd gotten here sooner. I mean, that's all we've been talking about for this last hour. But, okay, look, it automatically realized that, oh, see, this is what I'm talking about here. Did we need supports in there? Maybe we did. I don't know. It might have bridged. It's hard to say. I'd have to test print it. I generally don't split my objects so like this, because I have a big build plate like this, and an even bigger one. But if you have just an under 3, then or something along that size, something that's under 300 millimeters, you're gonna probably need to do what I'm doing here, which is where you cut this. So let's go back into our preparation mode, and let's look at supports and see. Okay, here's enable support. Yes, we want supports on. I don't know why that is like that. Let's see if we can get a setting for this. Nope, I don't want to do that. I just want to find out where I modify this in the process. That's probably going to be in here, object settings. No, that's not. Let's go to global. Okay, here we go. So in Orca, you've got your process here. You have your global settings, which are all print related. Okay, and you have these different subheadings. You've got quality, which is where you're going to determine like your layer height, your speed, how many walls you want to use, etc., etc. Then you've got your strength. So how many? Okay, so this is loops or shells. How much infill? Then we got speed, and now we're going to get over here to support. So we're going to go normal supports, and we want to tell this to only put supports where I told it to. And there should be a way to do that. I would like to think that there is. Why does it say those aren't on? Okay. Interesting. It is not. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Support critical regions only. Support on build plate. Support remove small overhangs. Okay, so right now it's on remove small overhangs. I'm not sure what that is. Support critical regions only. Sharp tail. On build plate only. So it's not even saying anything about where I painted. Yeah, let's tell it not to support bridges, and independent support layer height. I don't know. That seems to be missing. There doesn't seem to be a way. If we go over here to others, I don't see. Okay, this is about skirt, bed adhesion. I don't see anything about supports here. Let's go to back to support or quality. Well, let's just see what happens. Oh, a G-code path goes beyond plate boundaries. Oh, what would that be? I don't know. Maybe it's the support? Oh, it could be the support. Let's look at it from the top. Let's see, what's the easy way to view on this thing? View. Okay, let's look at the top. And it looks like we are definitely off the plate. So we're going to go ahead and move forward here. And I think we might even rotate these just a little bit just to make sure that we are on the plate. Hello. Oh, I guess the only way you can turn these here is using this stuff. Okay. And we'll do the same thing with this. We'll move it this way. And then we'll go to the top. Now there's probably hotkeys for these manipulators, which makes it a little easier to move around. I'm just using the manipulators right now because this is kind of the default way to do it. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, we're definitely making contact there. That's no good. Should we rotate that? I don't think we need to. I think we just need to move this guy over more. Move this guy over more so they're not connecting. All right, let's see what that looks like. Let's go ahead and slice that. That's up here. Okay. Yeah, jumping back and forth between multiple slicers is confusing. I don't know if... I'm going to look at Simplify 3D and see if it has a cut function. I don't know if it does. I've never used it, so I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, this doesn't really look much different than what we had before. However, it does seem to be better about, like, realizing that you don't need supports everywhere. So that's an improvement. And, you know, you're going to have an issue here because it looks like these supports are probably going to fuse. They might fuse with this. Maybe not. I mean, if the support density isn't too heavy, and that's where another thing we really need to know, what is the support density? How heavy are these things? Because, you know, they can't be 100%. That's no good. You don't want 100% support density. And I don't know what they're calling it in these other programs, in these other slicers. They call it support density in Simplify 3D, but in this, I don't know. Oh, yeah, one thing we might want to add is a raft to the supports, which is kind of cool that you can add them to the supports. First layer density, again, is 90. So I guess they're just like, yeah, they're going to be light. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to investigate that feature, and we can talk about that at another time. So let's see where we're at here. The G-code path goes beyond. What G-code path are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? Oh, something is over here. I think it's this one right here. Okay, yep. All right, let's fix that. Let's get back to prepare. Let's move this over. And we'll just do this. We'll move it down, and then we'll move it over. And now we should be okay. Let's just check it out. Make sure we dealt with the error. Okay. We should be good now, right?
It's trying to snow.
What? Trying to snow?
It's trying to.
Slice all. Let's slice it all. Are you going to slice? What are you doing? Do I have to be off of this for it to slice? Here we go. What? What are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? Let's slice the plate. Okay, I don't know what this thing's talking about, why it's telling me that I have parts that are, you know, going off the bed or whatever. Yeah, it's very strange. All right, let's rotate these back because maybe they're just rotated too much or something. Bro, you need to chill out with your error. I don't even know what you're talking about. What is this G-code path that you're referring to? I don't know. Okay, there, that's off of there. This is off of here. Okay. All right, the error went away. We should be able to slice. Let's have a look. Are we going to slice? These slicers take a lot longer than Simplify 3D does. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah, another setting you could probably add is if you really want to make sure these things stay put, is you could have them print on a raft. And what a raft is, basically, if you've never used a raft before, if you don't know what that is, you can also put this on your model. It is basically an area, it's kind of think of it as a foundation. It's like a foundation that gets created on top of the build plate. It's generally about 3 to 4 layers high. And it really helps the model stick better because you're kind of creating this, like, it's almost like a shoe or a foot for your model to print on. And they can be very, very nice. In fact, I can show you quick in Simplify 3D what a raft is. Let's go back to here. I should have a raft on here. I believe I do. Yes. Okay. I have a raft set up. So I go prepare to print. Select all. Okay. This is a raft. All right. So basically what it's going to do is, this is actually where the object starts. That's the raft right there. So it creates this sort of footprint foundation that your model then gets built on. And they're really cool. They definitely will help your model stick to the bed a lot better. If you're having issues with your model coming off in the middle of a print, I would highly suggest using a raft. An alternative to a raft is a brim. It's not as good, but we're going to go in here and we're going to set one up. So I'm going to turn off use raft and we're going to use skirt brim. The difference between a skirt and a brim, a skirt is basically kind of a test path to make sure you're extruding correctly. And usually it's spaced away from the model a little bit. In this case, it's 1 millimeter. I'm going to say I want this to, 1 layer is fine. We're going to set this to 0, okay? And I'm going to do this in both processes so we can see what a brim is. And this will kind of work similar to a raft, but it's not as good. It's not as good as a raft. Now, the issue with a raft, though, is if you've got any surface of your model that's touching the build plate, the raft will kind of mess it up. So I wouldn't put any surfaces that are going to be visible on the build plate if you're going to use a raft. So in this case, as you can see, well, let's go ahead and set up this skirt here real quick. Set this to 0 and say okay. As you can see, though, our model isn't touching the build plate. The custom supports are. So, and if we were going to switch these out for regular supports, it would be the same case. The model itself is not going to touch the build plate, and therefore, using a raft isn't going to be a problem. Let's go ahead and slice this and see what we get. Okay, so here's the brim. So what it's done, and here's the model. So it doesn't create a footprint underneath the model for the model to print on. It basically just creates a perimeter that helps hold the model a little more, it gives it a little more stability. So you're just getting a little bit of expansion around the model itself, and this is all connected together. So it'll give you a little more strength. It's definitely not as good as a raft, but it is an alternative, and they're easy to remove, so it's not really a big deal. Obviously, you just pull off the custom supports and throw the whole thing away, and you don't really have to do anything else. But yeah, that's pretty much that. So let's see here if I got enough things going on here. I think I'm going to save this for next time. Some cool things about Orca Slicer. I'm still learning how to use it, but I'm really liking it. So we're definitely going to do some more videos about Orca Slicer and how cool it is. And we'll also be talking about the differences between Marlin and Clipper in the future. As my new printer gets here, I've got a Neptune 4, Elegoo Neptune 4 Plus coming, and it uses Clipper. So I'm going to be learning all the ins and outs of Clipper versus G-code, although I'm not a coding expert by any stretch. I'll know what the differences are and how you implement them in your slicer if you're using a clipper machine or if you're going to get a clipper machine. So we'll definitely be talking about that. So in the meantime, that's it for for slicing. You definitely want to think about how you're going to put your part, whether or not you're going to want to use custom supports or not. Obviously, not every model comes with them, but if it does and you don't want to have them, you can get rid of them really easily. So that's a good thing to know. And we did cover that here. So if you missed any part of this video, go back and check it out. It will be available to watch on YouTube in probably a couple of days. But yeah, so there it is. So anyway, guys, just one more time too, if you haven't done so already, go and check my link tree, and you can find out all the things about me, all this, my social medias and everything, and go get on my email list if you haven't done that already. You'll get a free model and also the free print perfection guide that I give away when you sign up for my email list. And other than that, I really appreciate all you guys being here, and I'm sorry we had such a small group today, but I hope some people get this and can get some benefit from it, because like I said, I've seen several questions lately about slicing, people having issues with their prints, and hopefully some of this stuff helped out. If it didn't, always hit me up on Facebook, and I'm happy to answer your questions whenever you got them as best I can, and as